It started 21 years ago in a mother when she gave birth for the first time. She understood how far she was from living her nature via the comprehension that we all come like this. Like all other life forms, we only live in accordance to what physically exists. We are not born broken, we are born blank. The mother, Abeling, also known as Wolfie, deciphered the human-created space. She started with the language. Hence, she calls herself Wolfie, woman, female. Wu plus Fi equals Wolfie. This series comes in 4 parts. The first, a school principal, the friends who have been around it. 2, the ones that live it every day. 3, the children/youngs who have grown up and into it. 4, the mother, deciphering the human-created space with the information on how it all began. It's not human nature to be destructive. It's a choice.
Every single one of us who can take the choice, they can do it.
Yeah, exactly. I have that power to choose for myself.
Even though I was in this, all of this, like, this is not for me, and Evelyn, she's such a bitch, and whatever.
It was the only thing in my whole life that got to me.
There's a collective crash. There's a huge need for something different. Oscar and Theo, my kids, has been around, in and around Flokken always. The form around the kids is high frequency. It's a safety, like I said. It's I can feel in them, and I watched Oscar also before, and it's like this. It's just it has just been so important for all of us to have this reminder all the time. And when I'm around Flokken, I just relax. We activate different, more important stuff: the food, the kids, nature, humor. I mean, music. It's like we just put all these ingredients in, so there's no space for all the crap. It's like it's just
all the other human,
all the other nice, good things, and it's an effort. And I think that's something that is really important to put out there, because it's so plausible. It's right there. It's like it's for everybody to have this sense of relief and sense of okay. It's okay. We are amazing in our brains, and it's such an illusion with all the depression and the fear and anxiety and medication, and it just fucks us up.
What was it like for you? Like, what resistance did you have, or you didn't have?
I couldn't let go of a lot of the old my old ways. I think that's so. If there was resistance and there was intimidation of some sort, but that had to do with me not being able to totally let go, because I was trapped in my fear of not being accepted traditionally, and that's such a fucking release now to actually express how much has happened since then, because it's a big process, of course, but to sit now and really feel so far from that anxiety. I have my kids, and I'm in charge, and that has so much to do with my friendship and my connection. It's very important for me to have this in my life. And I get more and more, the better I feel and the more in my own frequency I stay, I mean, it doesn't become either or. It's not this feeling that I always have had, that I was either, or I was myself completely, or I was somebody with that had some kind of face on and trying to fit in everywhere, and it makes you fucking crazy. So now I'm that frequency. My sound in Flokken is a nano, and it resonated with me because of my feeling of always being too much or too little. And we practiced a lot of, because I was always, I feel these emotions, these non-frequent emotions that is just illusions. We worked around that a lot, and it just helped me so much to just stay in that frequency that is creative, and that gives me just space to be mother and artist. And it's not peace or love, that's good too, but it's a more practical, like, this is how you can do it. You can focus on the kids, you can focus on the food, you can focus on the music and the creativity. It's more like, get out, get up, and do this. And it's written down in Earth Motions. It's there for you to for everybody to use, and it really makes everything so much easier and just much more calm and relaxed. It's like there's a collective crash that really needs this kind of information, this kind of this way of life that makes it so much easier to be a human, that can eliminate all the medication and all the anxiety and all the fear of not being right. It's time. There's a huge need for something different. Yeah, it's an important movie that you're making. I hope people can, I really hope for everybody who just that people would be more interested in having an easier life and an easier approach to, because it's not it's not that hard, really.
These people that will appear here in part 2 are unlike any adults I've met. They're constantly growing, hence they call themselves Grownies. They never stopped in their evolvements as adults. They took the choice to live this consensus around this mother, also known as Wolfie, that started this 21 years ago, to only live in accordance to what physically exists, but most importantly, not to activate themselves in human-damaging frequency around the children. The first time I met one of these Grownies was in their gallery, filled with crazy paintings done by Hedda Handan Rostov. There was something different. Her art, her approach to it, I could sense it, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And then, the mother wolf started to read some of her poetry. It hit me. The frequency was so clear. It had all to do with the fact that they were living this consensus. And in that momentum, I took the choice. And it led to this film. This is just the beginning.
Statically repeating itself is far more different than complete environment, a banging gang up against a blurred drownings. Future left smashed behind a past, fucked out focus, counted down by human forces of violence, become silent in explosive sounds. Challenge a choice, blue blow mind ourselves from the very end on forward. Processes lived, lovely, lively life, slap, earth is somewhere lucky we am.
What do you think about the film that we're making?
I think it's awesome and rawsome.
We're awesome.
Yeah.
What did you think when you first met Abeling?
I got very, very intrigued by her when I saw her first. Very, wow, I haven't met a person like that before. It's a wild frequency, and I had never met it anywhere. Very quickly, I started to do everything I could to place myself around her, because I wanted to know more. I wanted to experience what it was that was going on around her. And I really soon realized that it had everything to do with the children. She was the mother of two at the time, Masana and Amabi. And I just saw children that she really let them be themselves. And it was just so inspiring and so fulfilling to me. On the instant, she started working with me on my motherhood. And it was all about the children. And I didn't have tools for being a healthy mother. And it was very obvious in the children that the way I was doing it wasn't working for them. When I took inspiration from her, then it started working on the children, and they got better and better at navigating and just landing more and more in themselves.
Was anything like difficult during like the changes?
It was very difficult because I was like Abeling's and my frequency is like, I don't know if I can get out of the camera because I need to.
Yeah. Polar opposites.
We couldn't be more different, and it was super, super hard because I didn't comprehend or understand any of this stuff that I was getting into, but what happened was that I started feeling myself through the inspiration I took from her, and I just started feeling that I felt life for the first time. Like I'd been so depressed and so full of uncertainty and so, what is the word for that? Insecure around being a mother, and everything else, like nothing was working for me at all. And it suddenly I got into myself and started feeling me as I'd never done before. Of course, I've done that when I was a child, but because of all the damage, then I was so slow in my movements and so insecure about everything. And you could feel that in the children, and that completely reversed. And of course, it's been 16 years of training, and it's been hard, but hard because of the damage. Not hard when I'm going through something. Then it's not hard. It turns out to be fantastic.
Like, how did you see the others around?
There was a lot of people around Abeling always, and I saw a lot of intimidation. Like I remember, I felt at one point that I didn't see anyone who wasn't intimidated by her, including myself, and I just stuck in there because I could feel that this was the only thing that was working for me. That was to follow what she had going on. Through the years, a lot of people coming in around and just evolving by beyond, and so amazing, each one who takes the choice to become themselves completely and stop being destructive. And I saw amazing involvement with all of them. And some people got too intimidated and stopped. And it's been obvious for me to see that I comprehended sometimes why they wanted to stop, because it is tough to stop it. And at the same time, I didn't comprehend why some stopped, because I saw so much involvement, amazing involvement. And the ones who've continued, like Freyan and Metamom and of course all of the children. I'm so fortunate that I live around these people who choose to continue their involvement. To see, for instance, the way Metamom have evolved her motherhood. Like, she's the most amazing mother I've ever seen. The way she is, like, completely there for the son. And he has this, what we call the beautiful difference. And she's just there for every step he takes, she's there for him to do the best involvement he can do.
Marianne talked about the case a little bit.
As Marianne says, and that it was all about the right to be different. They were so intimidated about the way she was living. And when they couldn't get to her, they tried to open up a case on me, kept on bothering me.
They tried to take your kids too?
They wanted to, but they couldn't. There was absolutely nothing. Of course, Marianne was in the background there also. And they couldn't, but they harassed us for 3 years on completely illegal basis.
Are you kidding? That sounds really stressful. Really
It was.
stressful.
It was.
But you're doing good now.
Yeah.
No,
Definitely.
not
It's
as
9 years ago, and of course it only made us stronger. Definitely made me stronger. That's for sure. I'd never tried anything that was so hard as that.
Did you, before meeting Abeling, were you painting?
I was not. I had tried. I tried a few drawing courses because, like, I wanted to be smart. So I thought being an artist would be smart. Like everything I did was in the man-damaging frequency. Everything I did. And when I'd known Abeling for a few years, then I made a drawing. I was on the phone with her, and I made a drawing, and I showed it to her, and she said, "You should continue." And then I just continued, and like, I didn't have the frequency of an artist in me. I didn't have the vibe at all. I hadn't felt that when I was taking these drawing courses. I hadn't felt it at all. And then all of a sudden, I just got completely hooked on it and felt the vibe. And so Abeling and I, because I couldn't really evolve in it, she had some different things that she animated me to do. Like the first year, I would only draw. And she just said, nothing is ugly, you just put your movement on the paper and just go amok in it. And I did that. And then after a year, I started painting. And it was the same thing, just be there with the material. And like, she's in with me over the pictures. I make them, I paint them, and then she goes in and sees if there's a frequency in it that is not working and there's not vibing. And then I will change it. And so all you see here is a complete collaboration between the two of us. And I make a lot of the art, most of the art, I make to this piece of music that Abeling has made. She's made it together with a man called Philip Halloun. And it's a piece of where she poetry slams, and he's put some sounds on it. And it takes 10 minutes and 41 seconds, and I still have that in my ears, and it's 10 years ago she made it. And so most of the paint, because that gets me in the frequency of living like this. And then you see what I make. And it's just amazing. It's like a documentary of what happens to me via living like this.
When you're painting and like listening to this, how do you feel? Like, are you creating from like a specific emotion, or like trying to convey something, or is it?
I don't have any thoughts. There's no artist in pain here who has to get out some emotions. I'm just there in the now and with it and just doing movements. And maybe I will think as little as possible. Maybe I will think, okay, here's going to be an eye. But then I don't think anymore and I just paint. And that's how I do my art.
What would you say are the pros and cons to living this way?
There are no cons. Coins. There are no coins. There are no cons. Just that being in the man-damaging frequency is so unpleasant, so amazingly unpleasant, and being out of the man-damaged frequency, pros, it's everything. I am there now where I comprehend what's man-damage and what's not. So, of course, the man-damage in me will continue for the rest of my life. I've lived a whole life full of it, and it will appear, but I have the tools now and the methods to so that it's so little and I can stop it almost before it happens. And then I am so lucky that I live right next to Abeling, and she will spot a man-damage on the beat, and and she will make me aware of it, and then I get out of it.
How is it with your kids now?
It's super fine. Like the three of them, they have grown up in this, and Freya, she decided when she was 12 to move to the father, and of course it was rough for me in the beginning, but I completely supported her in it and still do, and we're still in contact, and it was so nice. She just wrote me that she'd like to come by because she had seen the teaser for this movie. And she got so inspired and she just wanted to come over and get some support. And it's very obvious to me that she's choosing a good life for her, so she is using this somehow. And the other girl, Liv, it's very obvious to me that she's benefiting a lot from growing up like this. And Ike, he's still living around me, and I cannot stress enough how important it's been for him to be in homeschool. He also has this, what we call a beautiful difference. He could be diagnosed. If he had been in a public school, and all three of them, they went to homeschool, he would have been so bullied, like what adults learn children to bully each other. It all comes from the adult. It's so fantastic to follow him, and I would have never thought that he would be able to express his feelings, and he can do that now. And it's just amazing to follow a teenager just being themselves. It's by beyond amazing.
And you guys are starting that t-shirt business, right? I saw some designs for that. That looks really cool.
That's another thing that I feel so fortunate, because I'm working together with Masana on this. He's the CEO of the business, and me and Ike, we are the painters with the drawers. So we make the prints for the textiles, and then Masana will be the one to get it out. Another thing for me that I am so thrilled about is that you are going to be the salesperson of this art.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
Yeah, it is so amazing.
It's so cool. I mean, this art is personal now for me. I see these, I can visualize the art, without even being here. Especially that piece up there. I love that one.
Yeah, that's an
that
old one.
And
that's one of the first paintings.
That one up there?
Yeah. They've been kept. All of the paintings have been kept for the right timing. That's how Abbeling navigated it.
But it's actually crazy to see if you hadn't met it, how it could have gone.
I would have lived
You can't think of the past.
No, but I would have lived a completely different life. It was not fun. My life was hard. Everything felt like it wasn't as it was supposed to be. To the contrary now, where everything is as it's supposed to be. It's so felt-able, and it's so fulfilling, and I'm living life as I shall. For me, how I'm doing it, that's living life. That's the purpose. I'm doing the purpose of life. Every single one of us who can take the choice, they can do it.
I was meeting all of them at one time, the 2 mothers and 6 couplings, the 6 children. And I was an activist hanging out in this non-existent underground, anarchist environment. And I was making soup kitchens and all these things. And we also had a cake day. Every month we had a cake day where it was just cake all over. And they came, and it was this I don't know if you know these environments, but dark colors on the walls, and everyone wearing black stuff, me including. And then it was this all of a sudden it just came 6 children running up these stairs it was just sounds and this wild energy coming. And then Abbeling came into the kitchen where I was working, and she was it was an explosion of colors. She was entering, and it was just she had blue palliates all over, and it was just glinting up the whole room, lighting up the whole room. And she came in, wow, this is a really nice place, started talking, and the energy just flowed out in the whole kitchen. I was just jaw-dropping. It was oh, what is this? It was really made a really big impression, in the whole body. And London came, and all these children. That was my first meeting with them. I was living in a traditional relationship that was not working at all for me, like at all. And I was at that point where like I couldn't take it further. I think the next thing would have been that I would become super depressed or something like that, because I was never feeling good enough being with him and all these things in the traditional relationship. I was at that point where I couldn't. It was just like one big stress and unsettlement in me, and all these emotions of jealousy and all this. And then it was this, okay, I have to change something. And Ebeling was like, yeah, you have to stop practicing traditional man damaging frequency in yourselves. And I just started to, okay, slowly, yeah, okay, that's something. I want to follow this inspiration. And I slowly, like, I moved in with them. That was one first big change. And just living with 6 children and 2 mothers. And it was, okay, getting out of that I'm the center of the universe, but now it's like these children, this is what is important to me now, like getting into their routines, their everyday life, and just thereby understanding their needs, like basic needs, thereby understanding my natural needs. And that was like my way of doing it, learning it, being around them. I lived, for 10 years I've been living with them now, and 5 years without being a biological mother matter, but like training myself to becoming a mother. And then 5 years ago I gave birth to Brohan. There was a lot of training up towards that point, but in the pregnancy, it was that just like so many things I cannot describe with words what it was, but like so much what I have been training and experiencing with the other children, and getting all these like inspiration from movie in all these 5 years. It was like they were getting into place in my body. And then when I gave birth, it was just, it was so wild. It was really wild. It was like that. Of course, there's the natural worries, like, well, there's this little human being that he has to survive this one. He is the most important thing in the whole universe. And I have to make sure he don't die.
How do you feel about your role as a mother in this house?
Well, I feel, again, this luck of that I had chosen myself into this position and just grown into this position, I can also say. It's really, and there's not maybe so many words I can put on it, because I'm just living it. That's basically it. So I feel really the luck of living my position and my strength in it, and my rawness. Yes, I am a mother in this flock, in this family, and I live my nature.
How has it been to raise a kid in this way?
That a lot of the frustrations and a lot of this, I can like imagine, like maybe loneliness, and like I'm a mother to a newborn, and how do I do? And I had like Ebeling and I had Honda to hear their experiences when there was anything, in everything, like from breastfeeding or diaper change to food, I had everything just could like get inspiration from them if there was anything I got insecure about. It was so amazing. I really feel like, yes, this couldn't be better for him, that he could grow up into this, to just be him from the beginning of. He was never put in an institution. I chose from the beginning, I want to be with him all the time. He's not that he has to be in a certain way and he has to eat at a certain point. He eats when he's hungry, and he have these interests that he wants to have, and use just as long time or short time on these interests as he want to, as he feel like. Would be diagnosed with Asperger probably, because he has all these beautiful ways that he feels and see and understand the world around him, and he can just fully live that frequency, and of course being guided so that he can navigate it in the rest of the world, so he don't get out into the street and get run over by a car or get unpleasant attention, man-damaging frequencies send it towards him, but learn how to navigate this, all of his frequencies from one end being wild and extreme to being quiet and all of it. He can just be and learn more and more to navigate in his surroundings. Just to give an example of the comprehension. So, for instance, with the damaged sexuality and with the body. For instance, one big thing for me with my body, it was this with my breast. Before I moved into the flock and before I started to train, was that I had this really man-damaged frequency around my breast, and I didn't like the size of them, and they were too big, and I really wanted to get them operated and all this. And whenever I had to get a bra, I went into a shop and I would be depressed. Like after 2 minutes, I just want to go home and be sad for really long. But then after I moved in, she just inspired me to comprehend my body and comprehend that food sources. It's like, that is what it is. Your breast is beautiful food sources. It's like when you become pregnant and when you start breastfeeding, wow, this is food for another animal, giving life to this little human. That is, and over the birth ellipses and years in the training, I just really got this comprehension and got out of this sadness and frustration about the size of my food sources, and just to comprehend, yay, it's food sources.
What was your biggest difficulty to overcome to be able to live the life that you're living now?
When I chose to block on myself, it was, but I cannot do it. That was, of course, the biggest. Because, that is the biggest. If I start to loop in my brain and I cannot do it, I'm not good enough, all these man-damaging, brought down thoughts, and I could just stop them. And if I didn't stop them, then of course I would, if I'm full of it up here, then of course it will go into my body and into my actives.
So it was the knowledge that you have a choice to choose those thoughts in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. I have that power to choose for myself.
I am Freyan.
And I'm Orvi.
How did you guys come to meet this?
Do you want...
I'm the first who met
start
this,
this,
so I will start this one.
Yeah.
I met them around. I met one of the guys who were hanging around Ebeling and the others around 8 years ago on a festival in Germany, and it was obviously, even though he was not living it at all, but just from what he was saying, it was obviously that for me that this was something that I've never seen before and I've never heard. I heard about all these spiritual things I heard before, and none of them was at all in any way animating to me. And this was the first thing I ever heard, the first time I ever heard anything from people, how they live, where I was like, whoa, this seems wild, and this seems interesting.
So friend, your story is a little different, but you can also relate to some of the things.
First, when I first came here, I was about 20. It was through a friend living here at the time, and I met Ebeling. Was very intimidated. I was one big hesitation and very emotionally closed off. And to meet Ebeling, that was completely other spectrum of where I was. And I jumped off, or I did not jump in at the time, although it was made such an impression. I was so full of my own way of participating in this, what Ebeling introduced to me, called just human damage. When I became a father, I fully moved in here.
It's when you guys met each other, you were how was that?
You were here already.
I met Frey a few years before he moved in, and there's no comparison. There was no intimidation around Frey, but a shitload around Ebeling. There was and there has always been, and there still is in the timings, this intimidation, and that I take it personal, and that I don't want to do, that I want to do it my own way, and I don't want to do it like I don't want to do what she says, and so on and so forth. What I'm really getting is to like more and more and more and more, and just enceiving her and enceiving everybody, but especially enceiving her, and really taking all this experience and use it for myself, so I can live the most beautiful life that I can live, and do it as me, not as her, and not as Frey, and not as you, but as me, but just exactly that.
Right, how did you handle
Yeah.
the intimidations when you came in after becoming a father?
It makes a lot of sense to have that intimidation. It's just this natural intimidation. It's a very protective intimidation. It's why we live the way we do, and it's why she has set this, manifested this way of living around her, around the children that she is to protect. That's what we each have chosen to follow into in our way. She made it clear from the start that this is how we live, and you claim this is why you are here. So whenever I went into thinking about, do I want to leave, do I want to live a different way? No, this is the only place I want to be. It's what it took for me to get out of that emotional laziness. I was nothing else. I was this that they call a slippery eel. Right? You say slippery eel? Whatever.
It's a metaphor.
Emotionally slippery, yeah. And it was the only thing in my whole life that got to me. There was no way around Ebeling. She just penetrated through all the crap and the facade. And things I have realized to just sit here now. We talked about, like yesterday in the back rotation, about things she said to me from the beginning of how I go into this emotional laziness, where I get totally unconnectable. And this was what came into expression in the first interviews. All the vanity and all the taking yourself too seriously. Choose to take myself very seriously.
How did you guys see the kids growing up here?
It was not just talk, they were shining off it all the time, in each their uniqueness. That was what I wanted to do for Uma.
Yeah. Like there was, for me, I've been in and out of this, and there has been times where I've not been in contact with any of them, but there was this around the couplings that was always there. I had no doubt that I've never seen couplings like this, and I've never seen couplings growing up like this, from the youngest to the biggest. Even though I was in all of this, like, oh, this is not for me, and Ebeling, she's such a bitch, and whatever. I was always like, yeah, okay, maybe she is, but all these couplings, they are fucking growing up by the wildest. And
in so many ways, how they are, for me personally, they are much beyond me. They didn't have to go through all that. And it's just example after example. There's this, Yaya says something, wow, okay, wow, I want to get there. Like,
it's the biggest inspiration.
They were never interrupted out of their frequency, way of just being. And they are just living examples of what it does.
All the people that I know that have been around this, that have jumped out, and they don't speak about Ebeling. They are really fucking intimidated about her. But when it gets around the children, all of them, every single one lights up. They light the fuck up. If I have couplings around me, I want them to grow up like this.
But so far, nobody here has met this anywhere else. And this is why we are here.
This is the beginning.
Yeah, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
I was completely into all the distorted sexuality. I mean, into it. Who was really into it? But I was living according to it. All the pornography and Hollywood romance and that kind of pornography. and then at the same time, I thought myself much more sophisticated and into all the other art films where it's just the same, completely living according to that, and meeting she's as that, looking at the food sources, breasts, as something entirely sexual. Completely.
This is a big question, and it really like clicked in my head how crazy that something for babies, for children, has become sexualized.
Yeah. There's not a lot of other animals going about it like that.
You could say there's none.
Okay, that's none. Okay then. Yeah. Always the sexuality was up front.
Yeah.
And in the fucking way of being ourselves. It's crazy.
And what it does, this sexual tension, like how fucking exhausting it is to be constantly in this traditional way of sexual tension where it is like constantly.
And the sexual tension comes in around the children, and it's just considered normal. That's a thing going on all the time. It's in the movies, it's in the cartoons, it's coming from the adults. It's there constantly, hypersexualization.
Really?
In the beginning, until it was settled into, like it was in nature, we are just to protect and collaborate. And that makes the focus and the priorities that there's the children, there's the mothers, and we have to collaborate and not fucking compete. And
we would die.
That's the distorted sexuality. That we, instead of making it about the couplings, the children, it's about the relationships. So for the he's, it's about the she's, and now we are competing. And vice versa, the mothers make the he the first priority instead of the children, and now everything is completely fucked up. And I came so much from that background. I was always in a relationship. I had these things that are beneficial in the traditional space, in this culture of good looks, and athletic and blah blah, easy with the jokes and to that kind of. So all these rewards, and always relationships and getting all this affirmation, validation. So I was totally saturated with that, and totally unhappy, totally not getting any of the validation just from me in relationship to myself. That was the case when Uma was born. I was in a completely traditional relationship and relating to the mother in this way. And that was, and a year went by, and when Uma was 1 year, I could not be in it anymore. I called in and I said, I want to come here. And I've been here ever since.
I remember that day. I remember when you called in.
Yeah. Also, like Ebeling said from the start, it's a choice to live destructive or not. And when we don't try to convince anybody about anything, about how anybody else should live, but completely do it for life, for ourselves.
As soon as I try that, as soon as it happens, that I want to convince somebody, because I really would like them to live, to get closer to this one for once, because I know it works for everybody. And also because it's just nicer to hang around people who choose not to be depressed or who live a fucking celebrating life. So of course I would like them to do it, but as soon as I try to convince and they get the tiniest frequency of that and that man damage, then it goes down directly.
Yeah, then you have discussion and your way and my way and what.
Have you guys dealt with like the traditional views of this being like a cult or something?
No, never. I never heard that.
Never?
Yeah, but that's how it is. So it's the sect, and Ebeling is the guru, and we are the disciples.
We are brainwashed.
Yeah, exactly.
What are like the pros and cons to living this way?
Yeah.
What should we do? Should we cliff the cult thing?
Yeah, we can do that.
Shall we do that one?
Because that could be a con where people think that you're living in a cult or you're brainwashed. That could be a con. That is
Definitely.
That could be a con.
That's a good one. If
con
it
about
comes-
living here.
If it comes out that this is actually a sect, that would be a bummer. It would kind of be a bummer to
Then
find out
we
that,
all got something wrong.
that I'm brainwashed,
along the
even
way.
though it's not the worst to be brainwashed into happiness.
No, this is great brainwashing.
Yeah,
Totally recommendable.
very clear.
Yeah, it's the only background that people have. It's the only thing we see in traditional culture when
Yeah.
people get together and make new ideas. And it's always I have never seen or heard of it done this way. This is about living nature, each individually, and stop being destructive. And Abeling couldn't care less if whoever wants to stay here or wants to go, except who stays here. There is the protection of the couplings in our home and the conditions of not practicing human damage in these homes. That's the only natural condition that once everybody was living according to before we start fucking it up with human
Yes.
misuse of intelligence.
Well, when I started moving here, the friends around me from the past and the family around me, and I got these long letters from a friend of the parents where it was like how I'm being brainwashed and that this is a sect and that I cannot break up the contact with my family because that is me, and because I did that. I didn't talk to them for several years. So I really needed to have this clear cut from the way I was living before. And now, after I came back, it was possible to really do it on my terms. But yeah,
And then for me too.
yeah.
And then it's so clear that it becomes everybody's terms. I've
Yeah.
never had such a relationship to
Exactly.
anyone in the family as since this contact was broken off. I wouldn't do it now, but now I'm here, so that's easy to say. I had to do that way too. Now there's one who's not enforcing those patterns and habits in the family, and it benefits
Yeah.
only everyone.
How do you guys deal with emotions, insecurities, and like low self-esteem as he?
Don't have it anymore. All gone.
As soon as you start this,
Yeah.
it will be gone on the instant and it will never come back. You will never have any insecurities again. You will just be happy 24/7.
Yeah,
This is how good this brainwash is.
it's 100% guaranteed. The beginning is hard, and there's constantly new beginnings in this.
Yes.
Because you get to a new. There's no fixed destination. I'm good. I'm finished. I'm a perfect human being now, and I'm the best father forever. Like.
But you are.
Uma is growing and changing all the time, and I have to adapt all the time. And then the habits are the first thing that kick in, and you have to actively choose to not do them. And then you are left with not doing them, and then it works. I just have this recent example of going into this documentary and recording, and make these totally failed recordings about experiences, first time experiences. About not my intention, but in my active really choosing this dullness and the monotonous safe space, friend safe space, where nobody can get to me, I cannot get to anyone, I cannot get to myself, and I will die slowly and become a really bad father and depressed again, and this reveal heal. So this is what the documentary is doing
Yes.
for me. I had to get beyond this point or fuck off out of this project. Do not sit here and pretend and see everybody else in this wild evolvement around it, and only my choice to stay where I was staying at, not evolving.
It is the best place around these people to get out of this insecurity and the low self-esteem. I can come here and just lean back. I don't have to talk, I don't have to joke, I don't have to be funny, I don't have to be whatever. I don't have to be anything except for just myself, and everybody in around is supporting me, from the youngest to the biggest. It's just support, and that's how it is for everybody. And then it becomes so easy to get out of this low self-esteem around anybody, because it's just I know it from myself.
A choice.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It's a choice, and we learned to live.
And it's just
we only
habits.
learn to live according to it in traditional culture,
Yeah.
and follow it and follow it and follow it, and low self-esteem, and
Yeah.
perform and pretend, and
Exactly.
stress, and it's very complicated to live in this
And
thing.
it's the opposite when you do this. When you do this, you can do it all. You can do it all as you. You can. That's what I've seen here around all the people, like how they explode in their talents as painters, as musicians. Like, man, I've never seen a boy like Amabi in that age producing this music like
Yeah.
just constantly and constantly and constantly. And I've never seen a painter or like somebody who paints like Honor in that frequency of without all this arty-farty fucking oh yeah, this is my painting, and you see this represents the sun, and this represents the Holy Ghost, and and like if you listen to Honor, it's just pure fun to listen to that. And
It's joy.
it fucking is with everybody, like to see how they become these leaders, these little leaders of themselves, like to see all the boys with all these friends around them, how all these friends are gathering around them because they do it as they do, because they got this inspiration. And the same with
I can see that. I can see that in Uma too.
yeah,
A lot of people are asking if it is not confusing for her to come with this background into that. And it's the same example as the boys. It's the opposite.
yeah,
They can differentiate themselves from this confusion that everybody has to go through, and they are so clear in it.
yeah,
And you can see the attraction from the surroundings
yeah.
of something healthy, that what we all want. I have this about how I used to be in nature. I would feel very sad. The more beautiful the nature I was in, the more sad I would feel. The more impressive it was, because of feeling so unconnected to it and so unleveled, and that I had to leave the beautiful nature and go back to my life that I didn't find beautiful. And since coming here and living like this, it's just like getting into it in a way I had never ever imagined of being in what we call nature, because I become part of it by not being in all these blocks, in this brain activity constantly around the animals,
Yes.
around anything. It becomes such a support in nature.
So it is our nature.
Yeah,
to be
be
part
in
of
nature. We are a part. The frequency of Eberling's poetry is very much the same I get as being out in nature. When I hear it, when I receive it, and not sit and try and understand every word like I did in the beginning. And I thought, it's ridiculous gibberish. It's a fucking language. What does she think? She making new words and changing up the order and changing past and present. And then gradually I could follow my involvement of completely let it go in and hear this stream of it's the most organic way of using language I have ever heard. I don't have any words to express it. It's the poetry that expresses it.
Yeah.
I can sit and hear that and feel the feeling of nature. And going through these experiences and only understanding and comprehending it so much later. Things that I heard that you wrote about way back. Way back. And it's only now it's coming into comprehension. There's the difference of understanding what someone says, like the things Eberling told me way back, and it's only now, because of my slowness, choosing to live them, to adapt them. Seeing what that has done for Uma through the sparring with Eberling, finding out how the fuck do I do, because I didn't learn it.
Exactly.
I didn't learn. I don't have the instinct. I'm not a mother. I have to get it from a mother. Only there have I gotten to a happy state of how I'm being a father.
We should have gotten all this, because we don't get it. We don't give birth, so we don't get this empathy by nature, and I never learned it from the mother around me, and it's why I have had and have to learn it from Ebeling, get the inspiration from there, and to an extent also from the other mothers here. The boys, they don't have to. They get it from the mothers, and it's obvious. You can see it in them.
Yeah, it is.
You really can.
Yeah, and Matamom is such an
Inspiration.
inspiration. There is seeing it fully being implemented around the small. Beforehand is getting big, but since the beginning, I was here since when he was born, and to see him grow up and in and out of just being him, that has been the biggest inspiration and wonder.